Okay, let's dive in. December 24th, 1999. Christmas Eve. It's a date that's really etched into India's memory, isn't it?
Absolutely unforgettable, sadly.
Indian Airlines flight IC-814. It started as just a normal flight, Kathmandu to Delhi, but it turned into this terrifying 7-day ordeal.
7 days, yeah.
So in this deep dive, we're really going to try and unpack that whole diplomatic crisis, the agonizing choices they had to make, and the consequences, the long-term effects this had for India.
Right. It's crucial to understand the why behind it all, not just the sequence of events. We're digging into the sources to pull out those key insights.
Exactly. So picture this. Christmas Eve, flight IC-814 takes off from Kathmandu. You get 176 people on board, just, ordinary people, families, kids.
Even newlyweds, I believe, just a regular flight load.
Totally normal until they hit Indian airspace.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, 5 terrorists. They use knives, fake bombs. Pretty low-tech stuff, actually.
Yeah, surprisingly low-tech, which was part of the shock.
And they seize control. Just like that. Imagine the shift. From holiday travel to absolute terror.
It must have been instant panic, disorienting.
So how did something like this kind of takeover, immediately show the cracks in aviation security back then?
Well, it was a huge wake-up call,
Yeah.
a really stark one. It basically highlighted these fundamental gaps, especially for international flights. People knew about threats, sure, but maybe not this specific kind. Using knives, fake explosives. It seemed almost too simple, yet devastatingly effective.
Right.
So it forced this immediate global rethink. Airport screening, in-flight security, everything had to change. The whole paradigm shifted.
Okay, so the plane is hijacked, and then it starts this really chaotic journey.
Yeah.
They try to land in Lahore, Pakistan.
Yes, but Pakistan refused permission to land, turned them away.
So they keep flying, and eventually they touch down in Amritsar, India, on Indian soil.
A critical moment.
This feels like the chance, right? The chance to intervene.
It absolutely was a fleeting opportunity.
But there was a delay, a significant delay in actually doing anything on the ground.
There was a critical delay, and because of that, the plane managed to take off again, slipped right through their fingers.
Unbelievable. So it takes off from Amritsar, and then it flies to Dubai.
Correct. Another stop.
And in Dubai, some passengers were actually released, which must have given some hope.
A small bit of relief, yes. 27 passengers, I think. Mostly women and children.
But then, tragedy strikes there.
Yeah.
One passenger, Rupin Katyal, he was murdered by the terrorists.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a devastating turning point. Just brutal.
How did that act, that specific murder, change everything for the Indian government? Did it fundamentally shift the whole crisis?
Oh, completely. That missed chance in Amritsar, that was already a massive tactical failure. It let the terrorists regroup, continue their flight, made India's position even worse. But the murder of Rupin Katyal, that just drastically raised the stakes. Instantly.
How so?
It wasn't just a hostage crisis anymore. It was now active, lethal violence against an innocent. It basically forced the government's hand, the pressure became immense. Life or death, right there. It massively narrowed their options.
Okay, so the plane leaves Dubai. Where does it end up?
Its final destination was Kandahar in Afghanistan.
Kandahar.
Okay.
And this was territory controlled by the Taliban back then.
Exactly. A very isolated, you could say hostile environment for India.
The plane lands, it's surrounded. But the Taliban, what was their role? They weren't exactly helping India, were they?
Their position was deliberately ambiguous. They surrounded the aircraft, yeah, but they claimed they were just mediators.
Just mediators.
Right.
Which
basically left India completely stuck. Negotiation was the only real option left on the table.
So negotiating not just with the hijackers, but doing it in Kandahar, right, with the Taliban sort of overseeing things, that sounds incredibly complex.
Immense difficulties. Negotiating with terrorists is hard enough. But doing it on foreign soil, under the watch of a regime like the Taliban, internationally isolated, with their own agenda, it just added layers and layers of strategic problems.
Right.
Their so-called neutrality. It was tricky. Okay, it's not maybe a direct assault, but it also gave the hijackers a safe haven.
Right.
Made any outside help almost impossible. India was walking this incredibly fine diplomatic tightrope. Very little leverage, no real allies there.
And what were the terrorists actually demanding? What was the price for letting the hostages go?
Their core demand was stark. The release of 3 specific individuals from Indian prisons.
And these weren't minor figures, were they?
Not at all. Maulana Masood Azhar, Ahmed Omar Saeed Sheikh, and Mustaq Ahmed Zargar. All considered extremely dangerous militants.
Wow. So the Indian government is facing this impossible choice.
Exactly, an excruciating dilemma.
On one hand, you have 155 lives, innocent citizens, their families are frantic, the public is watching, demanding action.
The pressure must have been unbelievable, constant.
But on the other hand, releasing these three men, that has huge national security implications, right? You can't just give in to terrorists.
It's the classic awful catch-22, saving lives now versus potentially endangering many more lives later. It sets a terrible precedent.
So what are the ethics there? The strategy? How does the government even begin to weigh that? Releasing known terrorists for hostages?
It's honestly one of the toughest calls any government can face. It's a strategic and ethical nightmare. You give in, you save those people, yes. But you signal weakness, you might encourage more hijackings, more terror, you make yourself a target.
But the alternative?
The alternative is potentially letting your own citizens die. For a democratic government, that's almost politically and morally impossible to bear.
So it's a no-win situation.
Pretty much. Every path has huge downsides, massive ethical weight, massive strategic risks. Compromises made under this kind of duress often have very, very long shatters.
That'd come up for 7 days. 7 days of negotiations.
7 incredibly tense days. Protracted. A lot happened behind the scenes, but for the world, it felt like this grim silence, punctuated by fear.
India was stuck, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't want war, couldn't just surrender completely.
Exactly, trying to find some middle ground where none really existed.
And all the while, the threat to the passengers is just mounting. Hour by hour, you can feel the anxiety gripping the whole country.
Oh, absolutely. The nation was holding its breath. Desperate hope mixed with rising fear.
What do the sources tell us about the psychology of it all? That kind of drawn-out negotiation, the pressure on the decision makers.
It was textbook psychological warfare by the terrorists. They knew time and public pressure were on their side. Their goal was to wear down the government's resolve, make the status quo unbearable, make inaction seem worse than concession.
And for the leaders in Delhi.
Unimaginable pressure, internal debates, external scrutiny, the clock ticking. Knowing lives hung on every word, every decision. The sources really emphasize that burden balancing human lives right now against these abstract national principles under a global microscope. It's immense.
So finally, after 7 days, it ends. December 31st, 1999. New Year's Eve.
Yes, the end of the ordeal.
The Indian government concedes. They agree to the demands.
Under immense pressure, they felt they had no other choice.
The deal is done. The 3 terrorists, Azhar, Sheikh, Zargar, are released. They're flown to Kandahar.
And in return, all 155 passengers remaining on the plane are freed.
That moment of release
Yeah.
must have been incredible relief. Bittersweet, though.
Definitely bittersweet. Huge joy for the families, immense relief for the nation, but everyone knew the price.
And what happened immediately after? The 3 released terrorists, did they just stay in Kandahar?
Not for long. Crucially, they pretty much vanished almost immediately after being released. Reports suggest they fled Kandahar quickly, apparently with help from the Taliban, just disappeared.
So, beyond the relief for the passengers, what was the immediate strategic fallout of making that deal?
Well, the immediate tactical win was obvious. 155 lives saved. That's huge. A moment of national unity almost. But the strategic cost, that became clear very, very quickly. Releasing those specific individuals wasn't just a symbolic concession, it was releasing active threats back into the wild.
A short-term fix with long-term danger.
Precisely. It traded immediate safety for potential, and as it turned out, actual future danger. And it set that precedent we talked about, that under enough pressure, India might compromise its core security stance.
Right, and this is where the story takes another dark turn, isn't it? The long-term consequences. This is maybe the most critical part.
It really is. It's a chilling case study in unintended consequences.
Can you trace that line? Especially, how did releasing Maulana Masood Azhar specifically impact India later on?
Yeah, the link is tragically direct. Maulana Masood Azhar, after his release, went on to found Jaish-e-Mohammed.
A major terrorist group.
Who's a major and particularly brutal terrorist group operating against India. JEM was directly linked to, or claimed responsibility for, some of the worst attacks India faced in the following years.
Like which ones?
The 2001 attack on the Indian parliament itself, a shocking assault. And much more recently, the devastating 2019 Pulwama attack on the CRPF convoy.
So there's a direct line from that deal in Kandahar in 1999 to those attacks years later.
An undeniable, chilling line. It's a painful illustration of how a decision made under duress to save lives in one crisis can inadvertently fuel future, perhaps even deadlier crises. It empowered a future threat.
Wow. So after it was all over, after the passengers were home, there must have been a huge reckoning in India.
Oh, absolutely. Widespread criticism, soul-searching, anger.
People asking those hard questions. Why the delay in Amritsar? Was giving in the right call? How could they release those men?
All those questions. It sparked this really intense, painful, but probably necessary public debate, a national self-reflection.
And did lead to actual changes? Did India learn lessons and reform its security based on this?
Yes, significantly. This crisis was, in many ways, a powerful catalyst for change. It forced that deep introspection. Airport security across India was completely overhauled, made much stricter.
Okay.
Dedicated anti-hijacking capabilities were strengthened. Groups like the National Security Guard, the NSG Commandos received specific training and mandates for these scenarios. And behind the scenes, intelligence gathering, analysis, operational coordination between agencies, all of that was significantly upgraded.
So it fundamentally changed India's approach.
Absolutely. It reshaped India's counterterrorism posture. It showed how a nation, even after a moment of profound vulnerability and criticism, can adapt, learn, and build resilience. It turned trauma into transformation in a security sense.
And so looking back, the Kandahar hijack, it's so much more than just one flight story.
Much more. It's a defining moment.
India grappling with terrorism, with complex diplomacy, with these impossible choices.
Right. The brutal realities of it all laid bare.
And the core lesson seems so stark, doesn't it? That a single misstep, a single delay, or even a single decision made under duress, it can echo for years, decades even.
Profound, long-lasting consequences for national security. Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe something for you, our listeners, to think about. In today's world, the threats keep evolving, right? So how do nations continuously make that calculation? Balancing the immediate need to save lives right now with the long-term strategic dangers of negotiating, of maybe making concessions.
It's an enduring dilemma. The ethics are incredibly complex. Those impossible choices keep coming up in different forms.
Yeah. And how can history, like this event, actually guide us? How can it help prepare for the challenges that, well, inevitably lie ahead? What are those lasting lessons?